In this tutorial, we will go through the color editor's basic and advanced tabs. This is a great tool for selecting specific colors or color ranges and modifying their hue, saturation and lightness. It can also be used to create layer masks. Also, in this tutorial, I've customized my color tool tab just to contain the layers and the color editor tool, as that's all I need for this image. So first of all, the basic tab contains 6 color ranges, and I can choose any of them by clicking in the segment like so. I can then change the hue, saturation and lightness with the corresponding sliders. However, for maximum control and precision, the best results can be achieved in the advanced tab. So I'll reset what I've done here and move on to advanced. It varies from the basic tab in that you first need to define the color range. Do this by selecting the color picker and clicking on the tone you want. I'll go for the reds right here. The color range that's shown now is just a suggestion and indeed can be adjusted. But to help visualize what that range actually includes, I'll turn on View Selected Color Range down here. Anything that's not part of the selection will be shown as black and white. To quickly visualize how the selection range works, let's make a pick on this image and enable View Selected Color Range. The width of the selection controls the range of colors included, as you can see here, while the depth of the selection controls the saturation range affected, as you can see here. Let's go back to my image and start editing. Now I can clearly see that the current selection is just the reds, but I can easily expand it by grabbing the boundary and including the oranges too. This means I can edit 2 colors with 1 range selection. The first slider, Smoothness, controls the fall off of the selected range into neighboring colors. It's represented by this fuzzy area around the boundary marks. It prevents hard edges when adjusting these neighboring colors. In this case, it's probably about right, but you can see the effect as I adjust the slider. Now you can see that I'm missing parts of the oranges in my image, so I'll increase it again until it looks just right. I'm happy with my color range selection now, so I'll turn this off and increase the saturation a little for this selection. Up to 30 individual color picks can be made, so I'll do one more. I'd like to change the hue of the greens. So once again, I'll use the color picker to select, and as before, you can see the color range selection. I'll turn on View Selected Color Range, and I can see it's a pretty good selection, but it's just including a little bit of the oranges. So I'll narrow the range just so it's my greens only, and drop the smoothness down a small amount. Even though my greens are carefully selected, I can see that obviously the green things outside the plate will also be affected. In this case, I only want to edit the green things on the plate and leave the others unaffected. But that's easy to solve as the color editor also works on a layer. So I'll turn off View Selected Color Range. I'll delete this particular color pick by clicking on the minus here. And we can work on this one on a layer. Choosing my brush cursor tool, I'll do a quick mask just on the green things on the plate. I don't need to be super critical because I'm going to do my color selection from within this mask, so it can be quick and loose. Since I didn't have any layers on my image when I started to brush, Capture One made one for me. Now it's exactly the same as before. I'll take the color picker, click on my greens, turn on View Selected Color Range. View Selected Color Range will work as before in that it's represented on the whole image, but when I adjust, it's only going to be in the masked area. So once again, I'll narrow the range to avoid the oranges, take the smoothness down a small amount, turn off my View Selected Color Range, so I can comfortably edit those greens without affecting any of the others. I'll do the same thing with the plate itself on another layer as it has a slight blue tinge. I don't want to change the white balance of the image as that looks great for everything else. So first of all, I'll make another layer, grab my brush cursor tool again, and just very quickly mask on the plate. Once again, take the color picker and click on the plate itself. And the color range shows that our picked point was fairly low in the saturation range, as indicated by this dot. I'll take the saturation down a little just to reduce that blue cast. Returning to the background layer, I'll make one final selection of just the oranges. I'd like to improve the contrast a little on these, but of course I don't have that adjustment within the color editor. However, it's easy to transform a color selection into a mask. I'll just check that my range is good. It includes some of the red, so I'll narrow the range down just to make sure it's closer to just the oranges. And now click on the color editor's submenu and choose Create Mask Layer from Selection. Very quickly, a mask is created based on that color range. I'd like to check the grayscale mask, so I'll zoom out and turn on Display Grayscale Mask here, as this gives me a very clear indication as what's part of the mask. So white areas are the masked areas. I'd like to clean it up a little bit, so I'll take my Erase Mask brush, right click just to enlarge slightly and remove some of these areas, as I just want to target the contrast adjustment I'm going to do on the plate itself. Hitting M on my keyboard to come out the mask, I'll zoom back in, switch to the Exposure Tool tab, and finally I'll add a little bit of contrast, which is only affecting the oranges in the image. To preview the effect, I'll just turn this layer off and back on again.